For decades, we've tried to improve education by adding more content, more tools, more access. But the real question is, are we really improving the system? Welcome to this special conversation at the Convergence 2026 Next Now. Today, we go deeper into how education systems are being reimagined, not just digitized. I'm joined by Rahul Kushwaha, founder and CEO of Deepspatial, and Dr. Bushra Zaman, Chief AI Officer, who together are building what could be one of the most integrated education ecosystems. Rahul, Bushra, great to have you here. Rahul, let me start with you. We've seen a surge of edtech platforms over the years, yet the core challenges in education persist. What do you think is fundamentally broken in how systems operate today?
So I guess the biggest problem has been the approach the companies have taken. Companies have gone about building systems, not because there was a need for it, but because they felt they could sell it. And the approach that we have taken is the complete opposite. It's about truly taking a deeper dive in the education segment, identifying what the gaps are, how can the education be improved, and where you can bring in the technology to have that community-wide improvement. And once you start to take the approach, work backwards to build systems that can address that, I mean, quite frankly, sky is the limit. And as much as we like the terminology, EdTech companies, we see ourselves as more of a centralized brain. Because again, it's not just about education, it's about bringing that impact at the society level. And what we are bringing to the table, or what we have built, which has been deployed, is a centralized brain, which empowers the education system to fill in the gaps and bring about that difference, which has an impact throughout generations.
And Bashra, from a systems perspective, where do you see the biggest inefficiencies? Is it data, is it access, or the way decisions are made?
So the biggest inefficiency I see in the system is fragmentation. So we do see a lot of data that's floating around, but the data is in silos. So, and also the access exists, but there's no uniformity in the system. And decision making is often like a result of like reactive decisions rather than real-time intelligence. So in most education systems, student data, teacher performance, content usage, and institutional outcomes are not connected. So the goal that we move towards is to create a system where decisions are not reactive, and the decisions are informed. The decision makers are taking decisions based on solid information that they have from the systems that we are building. So what's missing is a unified layer. That's what we have tried to inculcate in the systems, where these inputs, all the inputs converge from the students, from the teachers, from the institutions, and the insights are not delayed and interventions are not generic.
Right. Let's talk about edskCalibre next. So, Rahul, how do you define it? Is it a platform or something larger than that?
So again, when you look at edskCalibre, it has a multitude of platforms that form the ecosystem that we refer to as edskCalibre. So edskCalibre is more of an ecosystem that starts from the beginnings of education and ends at the level of career. So every need that there is at the level of decision makers, at the level of schools, institutions, at the level of teachers, it's all encompassed within the system. So things like, how do you look at the student's guided journey when he or she is making a decision around careers, around skills? How do you look at teachers when, as they're trying to improve their skill set, or whether they have the skill set to perform in a certain fashion? Or how do you look at administrators, where at times the focus is around what are the decisions we should take, how should we spend the money, where we can improve, let's say, the past percentage of mistake. So when you look at edskCalibre, it basically encompasses any question and all the questions that anyone may have when it comes to the decision making within the education system.
Right. So, Bushra, you've described this as intelligence-led education. What does that actually mean in practice? How does the system think, respond, and adapt? Because what's emerging here is not just a delivery system, but a system that's, continuously learning from its own usage.
Right. So for us, the intelligence-led education means like we move from static delivery to adaptive systems. So the platforms provide real-time data. The real-time data is captured. It's the interaction data, how the students engage with the system, where they struggle, how the teachers are navigating the content, and it translates into actionable signals, right? So this allows three things. First is the personalization of at the student level. Then we provide these decision support systems or support signals for the educators. And then there is a complete visibility for the administrators. So it's not just about like consumption, it's about enabling the system to respond intelligently.
Right. So let's bring this to the ground now. So you've implemented this across regions like Himachal Pradesh and Meghalaya. So Rahul, what changed on the ground after deployment?
So sort of the first issue that we were trying to address was in the state of Meghalaya. I mean, the education system was struggling with a very high failure rate amongst primary school students, and they couldn't quite figure out what that reason was. And with the systems that our technology team was able to build, I mean, of course, led by Bushra, what we were able to offer was insights that played a substantial role in improving that pass percent. So imagine a problem someone struggles with for decades. They tried everything to solve it. They couldn't, but our intelligence layer was able to do it. Another example I'll give you is that when you look at the state of Meghalaya right now, they're perhaps the only jurisdiction in India where there is active daily attendance being sent to the central government on a daily basis through our platform. And just looking at the states of Meghalaya and Himachal Pradesh, we have again the number of students that have been onboarded are over 1.5 million. We have tens and thousands of schools, and we have over 80,000 teachers that are on our platform using it daily to get actionable insights, which has an impact on education in these jurisdictions.
Right. So, Bushra, from a data and systems lens, which were the insights that traditional systems would have never captured? And how does that translate into better decisions, not just for students, but for institutions and administrators as well?
Yeah, so one of the key insights we found was engagement disparity, meaning we observed that the access to the content was not everything. It doesn't generally translate to like meaningful usage. Certain clusters, certain geographies would log in, but they would drop off like midway during the tests. This indicated a gap in the access system, no, but in not in comprehension or relevance, right? So another pattern that we observed was around teacher dependency. The certain classroom showed significantly higher outcomes based on intervention styles. And these were the signals that traditional systems don't generally capture because they don't operate at the interaction level granularity. So these were the insights that we observed.
Right. Alongside learning, you've also introduced edskExpress. So, Rahul, where did that idea come from? What was your, thinking behind that?
So right now, again, you look at the events that are happening all over the world. Everyone has a habit of going to social media. And a lot of people take that information for the way how it is, not even doing an evaluation or using common sense to see if it's right or if it's wrong. Now imagine if I'm a student, I'm being inundated by all that information, and most of the time, there's a lot of falsification, which I take for granted as true information. More so than that, I mean, there is all this toxicity and negativity that comes out in a lot of these articles. And as a student, if you're being exposed to it, how do you think that's going to impact the development of that student as he or she grows up in their lifetime. So edskXpress was all about empowering students. It was about bringing them the content which is catered to those students. It was about bringing in content written by students for students. Think of it as more of a revolution, which is starting at the ground level in schools with students, where now they feel empowered. They're like, yes, we can contribute to the society. We can write about things that matter to us. And we have a central voice where all this information can go. And this truly laid the foundations for edskXpress. And on top of it, I mean, we are proud of having Indian Express as our partner. And the reason they partnered with us is because they shared the same vision. I mean, the whole world is coming to a realization that information which is going to students is quite frankly corrupted, but no one is doing anything about it. We took the time, we took the effort to build something that matters not just in India, Asia, but all throughout the world. I mean, this is a path-breaking mission, and I'm sure the way how this is going to scale up is going to be unlike anything anyone has ever seen.
So in line with that, let's talk about what comes next. So if edskCalibre is the foundation, what gap does edskNext aim to solve?
So, okay. So now when we look at edskNext in particular, now imagine if you're a student, you're going to school, and now the biggest question you have is, what shall I be doing with my life now? What's next? I mean, great, I want to be an astronaut, but just because I have the interest, do I have the skill set? Do I have the personality that will take me in that direction? You talk to a guidance counselor, there are a lot of inherent biases that come into play. You cannot be talking to a guidance counselor once every few weeks. That entire journey, that entire gap now is being filled by edskNext. A student gets onto the platform. I mean, we are using MBTI and Holland Rising to look at their personality types and their interests. And using our proprietary methodology, then we are taking them through identification of careers to which they're going to be best suited. And that is a journey that every student, no matter what the jurisdiction is, goes through. And now there's a centralized AI-powered platform which the world will have access to. On top of it, it's going to be something where, let's say, depending on the geography, let's say I'm living somewhere in the middle of Africa and I want to be an astronaut and I have the skill set to be an astronaut. That does not mean I should be counseled to become an astronaut because there are no opportunities. So when you connect all the dots together, there's a lot of localization that comes into play. It's about, depending on the geography you're in, a career needs to be decided based on your skill set, based on your interest, at the same time based on job availabilities. And that is precisely where edskNext comes into the picture.
And Bushra, from a technological standpoint, what role does intelligence play in edskNext? Is it a system that just reacts to students or one that can anticipate what they might need next?
So it's the role of intelligence in edskNext is to move from guidance to foresight. So what we are doing is we have created a system that it does not just respond to what a student is doing today. The system begins to map a possible pathway for the student. It's a personalized pathway that's based on the behavior of the student, the aptitude signals, the contextual inputs that are provided to the system by the student through these quizzes and various questions we ask. It's less about recommending content, and it's more about enabling informed decision making, whether that relates to learning pathways or skills or future opportunities.
Right. So there's another interesting layer you're building here, Xploor. So if edskCalibre builds learning and edskNext looks ahead, Xploor seems to sit somewhere right in between. So Rahul, where does this fit into the larger ecosystem?
So when you look at this entire world pertaining to geospatial artificial intelligence, it's perhaps one of the fastest growing job market opportunities all around the world. But being at the intersection of geospatial technologies and artificial intelligence where we are sitting at, we were quite quick to realize that there is a lack of that skill set with new graduates and even with a lot of experienced individuals coming out of different workplaces. And so the basis for Xploor was about how do you truly empower students that are perhaps completing their bachelor's, that are in their master's, to give them that real world experience in geospatial artificial intelligence, that how can they take on a project which has an impact in the world and how can they use these technologies to make an impact. And with Xploor, we have a lot of key partnerships. And I would say it's the only kind of program of its kind which is designed to empower new graduates and give them the skill set, give them the experience which is needed for them to succeed in workplaces where there is geospatial artificial intelligence being used.
So speaking of partnerships, you've partnered with WGIC as a knowledge partner and Christ University as an academic partner. So what do these collaborations enable?
So with WGIC, it is actually a very interesting scenario. 2 years back, we were given the Trailblazer of the Year award because of the impact our platform made in the states of Meghalaya and Himachal Pradesh. And since that day, there is no looking back. I guess WGIC was quick to realize that these are the guys that are making a difference. And as they saw this Xploor program that we were launching, they were the first ones to come out and see, yes, there is a deficit that we see. And the program that you guys are building could definitely fill in the gap. And so they have sort of become the cheerleaders for our program and have come on board and partnered with us as knowledge partners. And at the same time, when you look at Christ University, I was there a few years back, and it was quite a humbling experience to see that the academics and professors really cared about students not just getting an education, but getting the skill set that will lead them to succeed in workplaces. So again, when they saw this Xploor program, they're like, yes, this is precisely what our students need who are interested in going out, venturing, and getting jobs in geospatial artificial intelligence.
So Bushra, from a systems perspective, does Xploor allow you to move between, like, beyond learning outcomes and into things like skills, readiness, and real world exposure? And how does it do that?
Yeah, so Xploor is an internship program that acts as an extension layer. So we talked about edskCalibre. So edskCalibre captures the learning behavior of the student, and we have built edskNext, which creates like these personalized learning pathways. And Xploor connects these two things, and connects that journey to the real world exposure. So through mentorships, projects, and experiential learning. And from a systems standpoint, this creates continuity because we are no longer looking at isolated learning outcomes. We are looking at the outcomes that translate into readiness. So that's how we are taking Xploor forward.
So as you look ahead, is this an India first model or something that can scale across geographies, Rahul?
So again, India, with the kind of heterogeneity it has, is almost like you're encompassing what you see across the world. And my take is, if we can succeed in, let's say, remote jurisdictions like Meghalaya in particular and Himachal Pradesh, what that means is we can truly scale all over the world. I mean, we have partners interested from a host of international jurisdictions that are quite keen on taking on our platforms and scaling them across geographies. So what we have built, although right now what you're seeing is being operational in states in India, but it is something which is addressing the common issues that you see all across the world with scale and education.
And Bushra, what needs to remain standardized in such a system and what needs to adapt locally as you grow and expand?
So the architecture and intelligence layer that we have built can be standardized. However, the content, pedagogy, and the contextual inputs need to be localized, because we'll have to adapt to the local languages, local culture, the things that students can understand. So these education systems are deeply tied to the cultural and institutional frameworks. So while the system can improve and can provide a consistent backbone, its application must adapt to local needs and realities.
Yeah. So let us just zoom out for a moment. What do you think education systems will look like 10 years from now, Rahul?
So I would say 10 years from now, there is perhaps going to be more emphasis on tools, technologies that can be used as that intelligence layer to reach certain ROI or bring about that difference. And the way how we have built our systems and the way how we are scaling, it's almost like whether there's a child sitting, let's say, in Sierra Leone, or a child that is sitting in New York City, although they may have unique challenges, both of those challenges are being addressed by our platform to give them the insights that they are looking for to ensure that they can grow in their educational and professional journey.
And do you see institutions remaining central, or do you think platforms will begin to take a more dominant role?
So I think it's truly going to be a mixture of both. You'll have geographies where institutions would still play a central role, and at the same time, you'll have certain geographies where there will be a lot more platformization. And as I said, the way how we have built our systems, it truly encompasses that entire education system. So depending on if you want it to be, let's say, institution centric, yes, systems can be deployed in that fashion. If you want the system to be a complete independent intelligence layer where you don't need that institutional intervention, yes, it can be deployed in that fashion as well. But at the end of the day, it's designed to encompass the entire ecosystem. So that impact and that difference can be made in education, which impacts future generations.
Absolutely. So if there's one thing this conversation makes absolutely clear, it's that the future of education won't be defined by content or technology alone. It will be defined by how well systems connect learning, awareness, intelligence, and opportunity. From classrooms to careers, what we're seeing here is the emergence of a more integrated approach. Thank you, Rahul. Thank you, Bushra. And thank you for joining us at the Convergence 2026 Next Now. The future of learning isn't being imagined, it's being built layer by layer. Thank you.
Thank you.